The deep hum of the ship's engines filled the silence of the night. Stars drifted slowly outside the large viewing window, and the silver walls of the UNS horizon glowed with a soft blue light. Most of the crew was asleep, but one man was not. Ethan Voss, a human officer stationed on the deep space vessel, lay on his bed pretending to sleep. His breathing was steady, his eyes half closed and his mind sharp as a blade. Tonight he was not resting, he was waiting. For the last 3 nights, strange things had been happening in his room. Each time he closed his eyes, he could hear soft footsteps, quiet laughter, and whispers in a language that was not human. Every morning he would wake up to find the scanner beside his bed blinking, as if someone had been studying him while he slept. The ship's doctors told him it was nothing. "Probably just your imagination, Commander Voss," they said. But Ethan knew better. The Horizon had taken on 2 new passengers from the distant world of Valora, a pair of alien sisters named Lyra and Saren. They looked almost human, except for their smooth blue skin, glowing silver hair, and eyes that shimmered like liquid light. They claimed to be cultural envoys here to learn about humanity. But Ethan had a feeling they were here for something else. That night he decided to find out the truth. He lay perfectly still under his blanket, heart thumping quietly in his chest. The lights dimmed automatically as the ship entered rest cycle. Soon the only sound was the low, rhythmic pulse of the reactor somewhere deep below. Then, just as the clock turned to midnight, the door to his room slid open with a soft hiss. Ethan kept his eyes shut. 2 figures stepped inside, soft voices, gentle laughter. Lyra's voice came first, light and curious. "He's asleep again," she whispered. "Humans are so fragile," Saren answered with a quiet chuckle. "Fragile, but fascinating. Look at him. His vitals are perfect tonight." Ethan's pulse jumped, but he forced himself to remain still. He could feel their presence, close, almost too close. The air around him carried a faint scent, something cold and sweet like crystal and rain. He heard the soft hum of a scanner activating. A thin beam of light swept across his chest. Lyra spoke again, more serious this time. "The data is stable. The transformation is slow but working." Transformation? Ethan's mind raced. What transformation were they talking about? Saren leaned closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Do you think he knows what's happening?" Lyra paused. "No. He still thinks we're here for research." Poor human. If he knew the truth, he would panic. Ethan could barely breathe. He wanted to open his eyes to demand answers, but he had come this far. He needed to know more. The sisters began to speak in their native tongue, a melodic, humming language filled with strange clicks and tones. Even though Ethan couldn't understand the words, he could feel the emotion in their voices, concern, curiosity, something else, something softer. Then he felt it, a faint warmth spreading through his body, starting at his chest and moving outward like waves of gentle fire. The sensation wasn't painful, but it was powerful. It felt as if his blood was glowing under his skin. Lyra's voice trembled slightly. "It's reacting again. His body is adapting faster than expected." Saren's tone grew worried. "We should stop. If the commander wakes..." Lyra interrupted, her tone calm but firm. "No, we must continue. The council wants results. He's the only human strong enough to survive the process." "The only one?" Ethan thought. "What happened to the others?" His hands twitched slightly, but he quickly controlled himself. If they realized he was awake, the whole plan would fail. A moment later, the scanner dimmed. The warmth faded from his body. He heard Saren sigh softly, her voice low with emotion. "Sometimes I feel guilty." "He trusts us?" Lyra's reply came after a pause. "Trust is a fragile thing, sister. But if this works, both our species will live." They stayed silent for a few seconds. Then, to Ethan's surprise, he felt a light touch on his arm. It was Lyra's hand, cool, gentle, almost human. "He doesn't even know how important he is," she murmured. "If only he could hear us." Ethan's heart ached with confusion. Were they using him? Saving him? Or something in between? The door hissed open again and the sisters slipped out quietly, leaving only the soft hum of the ship behind. Ethan opened his eyes at last. His skin felt warm, his heartbeat steady but strong. On the small screen beside his bed, the scanner still glowed faintly, lines of alien symbols flashing across the display. He stared at it, realization creeping into his mind. Whatever they had done to him tonight, it wasn't over. He wasn't sure if he was still fully human anymore. And tomorrow, He would find out what those alien sisters were really hiding. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling strange. His body felt lighter, his senses sharper, as if the air around him carried new energy. Every sound in the room was clearer. The faint hum of the lights, the distant echo of footsteps in the corridor, even the soft rhythm of his own heartbeat. He sat up slowly and rubbed his eyes. The scanner beside his bed was still glowing, faint blue light pulsing like it was alive. He pressed a few buttons, but the display only showed strange alien symbols he couldn't read. He frowned. The ship's systems never used Valoran language. Someone had changed it. Ethan stood, slipping on his uniform shirt, and glanced at the mirror across the room. For a moment he froze. His eyes looked different. There was a faint silver shimmer in them, almost invisible unless he leaned closer. He blinked hard, thinking it was just the lighting. But no, the shimmer remained. Before he could think further, the door slid open. Lyra and Saren entered, their blue skin glowing softly under the artificial light. They smiled warmly as if nothing unusual had happened. "Good morning, Commander Voss," Saren said in her smooth, calm tone. "Did you sleep well?" Ethan forced a polite smile. "Better than usual," he said, "though I think I had strange dreams." Lyra tilted her head. "Dreams can be interesting." "What did you see?" He studied her eyes. They were bright, unblinking, almost too focused. "I saw lights, blue ones, and voices I couldn't understand." The sisters exchanged a quick glance, too quick for an untrained eye, but Ethan noticed it. Then Saren smiled again, her voice soft and comforting. "Perhaps your mind is adjusting to deep space. It happens to many humans." Ethan nodded slightly, pretending to believe her, but inside, his suspicions grew. After they left, Ethan sat at his desk and pulled up the security logs. Most access records were locked under the Valoran encryption key, something he wasn't authorized to see. But he was an officer, and officers always found a way. Using an old bypass code from Earth Command, he managed to open the ship's medical monitor files from last night. His heart began to race as he read the entries. 0247, Subject Voss. Fersen exposure level, moderate 0248. Cellular activity, increasing 0249. Neural response, positive. He scrolled further. There were 2 more notes written in alien script. He translated one using the database. The words appeared slowly. "The merging process continues." Merging process? Ethan's throat went dry. Were they merging his biology with theirs? He stared at his reflection again. The silver shimmer in his eyes seemed to glow brighter now, faint but real. Later that day, he decided to test something. During their lunch break in the mess hall, he sat across from the sisters and asked casually, "Lyra, I was thinking about Valora. What's it really like? Your people must have advanced medical science." Lyra looked at him carefully before answering. "We've learned much over the centuries," she said softly. "On Valora, life is built around balance. Our bodies, our energy, even our thoughts are connected." Saren added, "Unlike humans, we do not separate mind and matter. To heal the body, one must understand the soul." Ethan leaned forward slightly. "And what happens when those 2 things, mind and body, don't belong to the same being?" The question hung in the air. For a second, both sisters froze. Saren looked down at her food while Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "Why do you ask such a thing, Commander?" Ethan gave a half smile. "Curiosity. It's a human weakness, I suppose." The sisters exchanged another silent look. Something unspoken passed between them. Then Lyra stood up. "If you'll excuse us, we have research to finish." They left quickly, their steps quiet but urgent. Ethan watched them go, realizing they were hiding something bigger than he imagined. That night he couldn't sleep, this time, for real. He sat on his bed, the dim blue light flickering around him, replaying their words in his mind. The merging process continues. What were they merging him into? Suddenly he heard a faint sound again, whispers outside his door. He moved quietly, pressing his ear against the metal wall. It was Lyra and Saren. Their voices were low, but now he could understand a few words. "His body is adapting faster than expected," Lyra said. Saren's tone was worried. "It's dangerous. If he finds out, everything will fall apart." Ethan's blood ran cold. They were experimenting on him, and now he knew. But the question remained, why him? He backed away from the door, his mind spinning. The aliens weren't enemies. They seemed conflicted. One of them even sounded afraid. Whatever was happening, it wasn't simple science. There was emotion, real emotion, behind their voices. And as Ethan lay back on his bed, eyes open in the darkness, one truth settled deep in his chest. The alien sisters weren't just studying him, they were changing him. The next day aboard the UNS Horizon felt strangely quiet. The corridors were filled with the soft hum of machines, and the faint light from distant stars painted the walls in silver blue tones. But inside Ethan's mind, chaos was growing. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had overheard, the sisters talking about his body adapting. Every look they gave him, every gentle smile now felt different, hidden, calculated. Still, he acted normal. That morning he joined the crew briefing as usual, his voice steady as he spoke about ship repairs and upcoming scans of the nearby planet. No one noticed the tension behind his calm expression. When the meeting ended, he went back to his cabin and locked the door. Then he stood in front of the mirror again. The shimmer in his eyes was brighter now, not just silver, almost like faint stars moving in his pupils. His veins glowed slightly when he clenched his fists, a soft blue light running beneath his skin. He whispered to himself, "What's happening to me?" He tapped the wall screen and opened the medical archive again. The file from last night was missing, completely erased. Someone had deleted it. He tried to access it through the system backup, but even that was gone. Only one small fragment of text remained, a single sentence in alien code. When he translated it, the words sent a chill down his spine. Subject shows emotional link. Possible awakening soon. Emotional link? Awakening? Ethan's mind raced. He wasn't just part of an experiment. They were connecting him to something, or someone. Later, he decided to act. He would confront them, but carefully. He found Lyra alone in the ship's garden module, a quiet place filled with glowing plants from Valora. The air was cool and faint mist floated near the floor. Lyra was kneeling beside a flower that pulsed with blue light, her silver hair shining under the soft lamps. Ethan approached slowly. "You like being here, don't you?" he said. She looked up, surprised but smiling. "Yes, these plants remind me of home." He crossed his arms. "I was checking the ship's systems today. Some files seem to have been erased from my medical records. Do you know anything about that?" Her smile faded slightly. "Why would I know?" Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Because the encryption used was Velarin. Only you or your sister could do that." Lyra froze. For a moment she said nothing. Then she stood, her voice calm but guarded. "Commander, you shouldn't be digging into things you don't understand." Ethan took a step closer. "Then help me understand. What are you doing to me?" Her expression softened, almost sad. "We're not harming you, Ethan. You have to trust that." "I can't trust what I don't know," he replied quietly. Lyra looked away, her hands trembling slightly. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me." For a long moment there was only silence, the hum of the air filters and the faint glow of alien plants. Finally Lyra spoke, her voice trembling. "Your DNA is changing because of us, but not in the way you think. It's not an infection, it's an evolution." Ethan frowned. "Evolution?" She nodded slowly. "Our species is dying. Your body holds the one thing we lost long ago, stability, emotion, strength. That's why the Council chose you. You're the bridge between us." Ethan felt his pulse quicken. "You mean I'm part of some hybrid project?" Lyra shook her head quickly. "No, you're not a subject. You're a connection, the first human who can link to our energy without burning out. That's why we came, to make sure you survive the transformation." He stepped back, shocked. "You experimented on others before me?" Her silence was the only answer he needed. Anger and confusion filled his chest. "You should have told me. You had no right to use me like this." Lyra's eyes shimmered with light and tears formed at the corners. "We didn't choose you, Ethan. We were ordered to. But somewhere along the way, I started to care." Her voice cracked on the last word, filled with guilt. Ethan turned away, his heart torn between rage and sympathy. He wanted to hate them, but part of him couldn't. Before he could speak, the intercom beeped. Saren's voice echoed through the hall. "Lyra, he knows. The Council just sent a message, prepare him for the awakening." Lyra looked at him, fear in her glowing eyes. Ethan's voice turned cold. "What awakening?" But she didn't answer. She only whispered, "It's already begun." And at that moment, Ethan felt a surge of energy pulse through his body. Sharp, electric, unstoppable. His vision blurred and the world around him began to glow with strange blue light. He dropped to his knees, gasping. The plants shimmered brighter, reacting to him. The energy inside him wasn't human anymore. Something deep inside had awakened. When Ethan woke again, the lights in the room were dim, and a faint hum filled the air. His body felt heavy, like gravity itself had doubled. He tried to sit up, but pain shot through his arms and chest. Blue light pulsed under his skin, moving like liquid fire through his veins. He gasped. What's happening to me? The door slid open and Saren entered quickly, followed by Lyra. Both sisters looked worried, their silver eyes glowing brighter than usual. Saren rushed to his side. "Don't move, Ethan. Your body is still stabilizing." Ethan grabbed her wrist. "You said I was adapting, not changing into something else." Lyra stepped closer, her voice calm but firm. "Listen to me, Ethan. The awakening process has started. We can't stop it now, but we can guide it." He stared at her, confused and angry. "Guide it? You sound like I'm some kind of experiment." Saren hesitated, her voice soft. "You were at first, but not anymore." The words hung in the air. Ethan's heart pounded. Lyra moved closer, placing her hand on his chest. The blue light under his skin seemed to respond, glowing brighter. "You're alive because of this connection," she said gently. "Without it, your body would have failed days ago." Ethan looked down at her hand, at the light flowing between them. The energy didn't feel painful anymore. It felt familiar, like warmth from a fading fire on a cold night. He whispered, "Why me?" Lyra smiled sadly. "Because you were the only human whose mind didn't reject us. You have something we lost long ago. Empathy." He blinked in confusion. "Empathy?" Saren nodded. "Your people feel deeply. You care, even when it hurts. Our race became too logical, too cold. We lost the ability to connect on that level. That's why the Council wanted to merge human emotion with Valoran strength. You're the key." Ethan sat quietly for a moment, struggling to breathe through the weight of their words. "You talk like this is some grand mission. But what if I don't want to be part of it?" Saren's expression softened. "It's already part of you, Ethan. The transformation isn't just in your body, it's in your mind." He stared at them, fear mixing with something else. Curiosity. Part of him wanted to hate them for using him. But another part, a strange one, felt drawn to them. When Lyra spoke, his heart reacted before his brain did. He didn't understand it, but he couldn't ignore it either. He took a deep breath. "So what happens next?" Lyra and Saren exchanged a look. Finally, Lyra said quietly, "You'll begin to see things as we do, beyond light, beyond sound. Your senses will expand, but it will come with pain." Ethan sighed. "Pain I can handle. Lies I can't." For the first time, Saren smiled faintly. "Then you're stronger than most of us." Hours passed as the sisters monitored him. They spoke softly in their native tongue, adjusting readings and scanning his energy patterns. Ethan watched them closely, the way they moved, the care in their voices. They weren't just scientists following orders. They looked human in their worry. When the room grew quiet, Lyra sat beside his bed. "Do you want to know the truth?" she asked softly. Ethan looked at her. "Isn't that what I've been asking for?" She nodded. "The Council didn't choose you just because you survived contact. They chose you because we requested you." He blinked. "You requested me?" Lyra looked down, her voice trembling. "During your first mission to Valora, when you saved our research vessel from destruction, I was there. You risked your life for us, even though we were strangers." "I never forgot that." Ethan's eyes widened. He remembered that mission, a storm, a rescue, a flash of blue light. But he hadn't known who he saved. Saren added quietly, "That's why we came. You weren't a random choice, Ethan. You were a promise kept." The words hit him harder than he expected. The anger inside him began to fade, replaced by confusion and a faint warmth in his chest. He leaned back slowly. "So this wasn't just a test. It was personal." Lyra nodded, her eyes shimmering. "More than you know." Silence filled the room again. The hum of the ship felt distant now. Ethan looked at them, two alien sisters, risking everything for something he barely understood. He whispered, "If I'm really changing, then I want to know who I'm becoming." Lyra's lips curved into a small, hopeful smile. "Then you'll need to see what we see." Saren reached for a small crystal device and placed it on his temple. A soft light filled the room, wrapping Ethan in a wave of warmth. For a moment he saw flashes, images of stars, memories of worlds that weren't his, voices speaking his name in a language he'd never learned yet somehow understood. Then the light faded. Lyra whispered, "Now, Ethan Voss, you are beginning to awaken." And this time, Ethan didn't feel fear. He felt wonder. Ethan stood inside the dim chamber of the UNS Horizon's lower deck, staring at the walls that now glowed with faint alien symbols. The air felt thick, almost alive. The sisters had brought him here, deep below the crew quarters, to a place few humans had ever seen. "This is where it began," Saren said softly, brushing her hand across a smooth metal console that pulsed with blue energy. "Our link to Valora's network runs through this chamber. It's how we send data to the Council." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "So this is where you've been reporting everything about me?" Lyra hesitated, her voice quiet but honest. "Yes, but what we report isn't what they think," he frowned. "What do you mean?" Lyra glanced at her sister, then turned back to Ethan. "The Council wanted to use you as proof that humans could be reshaped. A tool, a weapon. They wanted your transformation to show that Valoran control could overwrite human will." Ethan's chest tightened. "You mean I was supposed to become one of you, but without a choice?" Saren nodded slowly. "That was their plan. But you changed it," he blinked. "Me?" "Yes," Lyra said, her voice trembling slightly. "The link was meant to erase your human emotions, but instead your mind resisted. It connected with us differently, with empathy, with feeling. You changed the process. Instead of destroying your humanity, it amplified it." Ethan stood in silence, trying to process her words. His mind flashed with images from the past few nights, the warmth, the light, the strange visions. He had felt fear, confusion, but also understanding. "So," he said slowly, "this experiment failed for them, but it worked for us." Lyra smiled faintly. "Exactly." Saren stepped closer to the main console and pressed her palm against it. The surface rippled like liquid glass, revealing a holographic map of stars and glowing data streams. At its center was a red mark, the signal of the Valoran Council's command ship. "They're coming," she said. "The Council wants to take you for full integration." Ethan's heart pounded. "And if I refuse?" Saren looked down. "They won't allow that." For a long moment, no one spoke. The hum of the console filled the silence. Ethan finally broke it. "Then we need to find a way to stop them." Lyra shook her head. "You can't fight them, Ethan. The Council controls energy fields far beyond human technology." "Maybe," he said firmly, "but I'm not just human anymore, am I?" Lyra's lips parted, surprise flashing in her glowing eyes. For a second, she seemed to see him differently, not as an experiment, but as something entirely new. Saren sighed. "If you go against them, they'll label you unstable. They'll erase you and us." Ethan's tone softened. "Then help me protect what we've already created. Whatever this connection is between us, it's proof that our species don't have to destroy each other." Lyra stepped closer, emotion filling her voice. "You don't understand, Ethan. Our world is dying. The Council is desperate. They believe only domination can save us." He looked into her eyes, seeing the sadness behind her calm face. "Maybe they're wrong. Maybe survival isn't about control. It's about trust." For the first time, Saren looked uncertain. "You sound like a Valoran philosopher," she said quietly. "Or maybe," Ethan replied, "they sound more human than they realize." The sisters exchanged a glance. Something unspoken passed between them. Then Lyra moved to the console and entered a code. A new holographic window appeared, showing lines of alien script and DNA sequences. "This," she said, "is your current structure. You're part human, part Valoran, a living fusion." Ethan watched the floating hologram of his body. Blue light coursed through the image like rivers of energy. "And this," Lyra continued, tapping another display, "is what the Council wants. To erase your human essence completely. They think emotion is weakness." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then we'll show them its strength." Saren hesitated. "How?" He looked at them both, his voice steady. "By proving that humans and Valorans can exist together. Not as machines, not as slaves to science, but as something more. Something united." Lyra's eyes softened, admiration shining in them. "You truly believe that, don't you?" Ethan nodded. "I have to." Suddenly, an alarm blared through the chamber. Red light flashed across the walls. The holographic map shifted. The council ship had changed course. Saren's voice filled with urgency. They're here. The council's fleet has entered orbit. Lyra turned to Ethan. If they take you, they'll destroy everything we've built. Ethan straightened, determination hardening his face. Then we don't let them. Lyra placed a hand on his chest, her eyes glowing brighter. Ethan, if this goes wrong, they'll see it as rebellion. They'll hunt us both, he met her gaze. Then let them try. The blue veins under his skin began to glow again, stronger, brighter, alive. For the first time, he didn't feel fear. He felt purpose. The experiment had failed in their eyes, but in truth, something far greater had been born. The alarm still echoed through the UNS horizon. Red lights flashed across the metal walls as the great ship trembled under the pressure of the approaching fleet. Ethan stood between the alien sisters, heart pounding, the glow beneath his skin brighter than ever. Outside the viewport, massive Velaran vessels drifted into orbit like silent titans. Their blue-silver hulls shimmered with power, each one armed with energy that could erase a planet's surface. The council had arrived. Ethan, Saren said, her voice shaking. If they see your energy signature, they'll take you at once. They think you're a threat. He clenched his jaw. Then let them see me. Maybe it's time they learn what a human truly is. Lyra stepped forward, eyes filled with both fear and pride. You don't understand. They will not talk. They will command and destroy if they must. Ethan looked at her calm and steady. Then we show them something they've never seen before. He touched the console and the energy within him pulsed through the system. The walls flickered with light responding to his presence. Lines of blue fire spread through the chamber like veins awakening inside a giant body. The ship itself began to hum, not in fear but in harmony. Saren's eyes widened. He's syncing with the horizon. Lyra whispered. He's bridging human tech with Velaran energy. That's impossible, Ethan smiled faintly. Not impossible. Just human. The sisters exchanged a look of wonder as the ship's core stabilized under his control. For the first time, both human and Velaran systems were working together, perfectly aligned. A moment later, a voice thundered through the intercom, deep, cold, and commanding. This is High Chancellor Vorak of the Valoran Council. Lyra Saren Ve, you have violated Council protocol. Surrender the hybrid immediately. Lyra's voice trembled as she looked at the speaker. Aye, Chancellor, please, listen. The merging didn't fail. It evolved. He's proof that our worlds can live together. Vorak's reply came like a blade. You were not ordered to create life. You were ordered to preserve our own. Return him or we will take him by force. Ethan stepped toward the communication feed. Vorak, I'm Ethan Voss of Earth. You think I'm your experiment, but I'm proof your fear is wrong. You seek control, but I found balance. There was silence for a moment. Then the Chancellor's tone hardened. A human dares to lecture the Council? Your emotion will destroy you. Ethan's glow brightened. No. Emotion is what makes us alive. Outside, the Council fleet began to charge their weapons. Blue lightning arced across their hulls. The horizon shuddered under the pressure wave. Saren turned to Ethan, panic in her voice. They're powering the main cannons. They'll fire any second. Ethan closed his eyes. Then it's time to finish this. He reached out both hands, one toward Lyra, one toward Saren. Energy flowed between them, warm, bright, alive. The ship's entire framework began to shine, light bursting through the windows. The sisters gasped as their own bodies glowed in sync with his. They could feel his thoughts, his courage, his hope. For the first time, three hearts, human and alien, beat as one. The Council ships fired. Streams of blue plasma shot toward the horizon. But before they hit, Ethan raised his arms, and a massive wave of energy expanded from the ship, pure white light mixed with human emotion and Valoran power. The blasts dissolved into mist before reaching them. Inside the command ship, the Council members watched in awe, their sensors overloaded with readings they couldn't comprehend. Lyra's voice echoed softly through the comms, filled with quiet strength. You see, High Chancellor? Harmony, not dominance. This is what happens when trust replaces fear. The Council didn't answer. The glowing fleet slowly powered down, the silence heavier than any battle cry. Moments later, the Chancellor's voice returned, quieter, uncertain. What are you, human? Ethan looked out into the endless stars. I'm proof that both our worlds deserve to live. Then slowly the Council ships turned away, retreating into the void. The horizon floated silently among the stars, light fading to calm silver. Ethan dropped to one knee, exhausted but alive. The blue glow under his skin dimmed to a gentle shimmer. Lyra knelt beside him, placing her hand over his. "You saved us all," he smiled weakly. "No, we saved each other." Saren looked out the window at the stars. "Do you think they'll change?" Ethan's gaze followed hers. "Maybe not today, but someday someone will remember what happened here." The ship drifted quietly through space, carrying the first true bridge between two civilizations. A man who pretended to sleep and awoke as something far greater. And as the stars reflected in his silver eyes, Ethan Voss whispered softly, "Dreams aren't just for humans anymore.